Welcome, brothers. I'm Johnny. I invite you to join me on this journey of the awakened masculine. Realize your potential and remember who you are. In this episode 2, I want to talk about what it means to be an awakened man. Now, there's two sides to this. We could look at it from an esoteric point of view. Awakened might sound a bit like being enlightened, and this is important and something we should aspire to. But what I want to talk about today is quite literally being awake, fully awake in your life. When you come home after a hard day's work, what are you feeling before you walk in the front door? Are you bracing for something? Are you feeling like some sort of low-grade dread about coming back to your house? For a lot of men, this is something they will experience on a regular basis. I was years deep into this pattern. I'd come home from work feeling tired, stressed, aching, and I would have to sit in my truck sometimes for 10-20 minutes, bracing myself for what I was going to be facing when I walked in the door. I knew that my partner would be mad at me or stressed out, angry. She'd be having a go at me because the fridge was still broken and I hadn't got around to fixing it. She'd be overwhelmed, having had the kids all day. The kids would be running riot. And if you're sleepwalking, then when you step into this situation at home, you immediately check out. So this might look like grabbing a beer out the fridge. Maybe you go and run a hot bath, smoke a joint. Whatever you're doing, you're not being present with your family or your partner. You are there physically, but mentally and emotionally, you're elsewhere. This could involve sitting on your phone, watching TV. These are all very similar coping mechanisms for someone who is trying to numb themselves out from what is actually going on in their life. And if there's been any tension between you and your partner, maybe you've had an argument a couple of days ago, or maybe even a week ago, and it still hasn't been resolved, then this could be another reason why you feel like you want to withdraw and you want to numb yourself out. This withdrawal is not a show of strength. This withdrawal is a refusal to deal with the situation that is going on. It's a refusal to be present. And all your partner really needs is for you to come home and be present. She's already overwhelmed, possibly from being with the kids all day. I spent many years living like this, sleepwalking through my own relationship. And at the time, I was working in forestry as a chainsaw operator on forestry sites, And this is a real physically demanding job. I'd come home, I'd be absolutely exhausted, my whole body would be aching, and my ritual when I came home would be to run a hot bath, and I'd vape some weed before I got in the bath, just telling myself that I was easing my aching muscles. But now I see what I was doing. It wasn't just about relieving the tension in my muscles. It was about cutting myself off. It was about numbing my emotions because they were too uncomfortable to deal with when I came home from work. And this continued for several years, and during this time I was becoming more and more distant from my wife and my family, and this was something that she could sense. I was not being present in the evenings after work. I was not stepping up and being there for her and for my kids. Life had become so dull and flat for me. I also went through a stage of using cocaine regularly because I felt so dead inside that actually the only time I really felt alive was when I was using cocaine. This constant dulling of senses by using alcohol, weed, cocaine, whatever you want to use, this is not only numbing us to the present moment and to our families, it's cutting off our connection with ourselves, this most fundamental connection that we need in order to live fulfilling, happy relationships. I will come back to this in a future episode, but these numbing practices, they do have an accumulated effect on our nervous systems and our emotional worlds. So it's really important that we recognize this when we're using these substances, and realize that they're actually cutting ourselves off from something which connects us to life itself. And there was something else that this regular substance use did that I really wasn't aware of at the time, but I can now see it very clearly. As leaders of ourselves and our partners and our families, it is essential that we as men stay sharp and focused. If you're constantly numbing yourself out with substances, you become much easier to manipulate. You become more prone to fear-based reactions and behavior. How can you really look after your partner and your kids if you're hungover, or you've been up really late the night before watching porn? These things, they all take us away from being the strongest, most clear versions of ourselves. And your partner is not going to want to follow you if you're getting pissed up every weekend and then spend the rest of the weekend hungover because you don't feel like doing anything. For many years, I used porn, especially at night time, and this at the time felt easier than trying to connect with my partner. It can be very difficult to find time for intimacy when you have young children. There was another side to this. I was scared of my wife's anger. I was scared of her emotions. I couldn't deal with her when she got angry. So my response would be to shut down and withdraw. I would just walk away or go quiet. And this never really deals with the problem. It just puts it off for another time. That's what sleepwalking through a marriage looks like from the inside. The bracing before you walk in the front door, the quiet numbing, the slow disappearance of the life you wanted. In the next part, we're going to look at it from her side. I'll see you there. Keep doing the work, brothers. Realize your potential and remember who you are.